What is up, duelists? Today we've got a special bonus edition of Yu-Gi-Oh! Feature matches for you today to celebrate this channel hitting 100 subscribers. Thank you to all of my viewers for getting me to this first kind of major milestone on the channel. I hope it is just a good omen of more fun content and match reviews and all that good stuff for you guys in Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format. So thank you all. Today, I wanted to celebrate that milestone by doing a user submitted review here of Harper C, one of the longtime viewers of the channel, or at least as long as possible, considering this series has been going on for like 2 months and a little bit. But definitely, shout out to Harper for always bringing me feedback here on the channel, and I wanted to celebrate this milestone by doing a match review for them. So here is a ladder match of Harper versus 3R Mutanda here. I believe Harper is on the Warrior strategy, and they lost that RPS, so they will be going second. They have a pretty solid opening hand. Mutanda is going to be leading out here, though. We'll see what they're rocking. Upstart Goblin is the start into duo here, so kind of the first interesting decision here for Harper C would be to what discards off of this duo. Ninja Grandmaster will get hit, and now you kind of have to choose, okay, Ring, Jar, Dust Tornado. You're definitely not going to discard Delinquent Duo. That's your way back into this game. I mean, I guess now, nicely, if your opponent opens Trap Dust Shoot, you're going to have they're probably going to whiff unless you draw a monster, right? So that's pretty nice that they hit the Ninja Grandmaster at least. Now, we don't really have too much intel on what Mutanda is playing, in which case it's probably good to keep around your Ring of Destruction, just it seems pretty valuable. You probably want to draw into the threat, right? You are Warrior, you do need something to go, so you probably want to keep your Jar of Greed just to ensure that you hit something playable. So I'd probably discard the Dust Tornado here, most likely. It's not nearly as good going second, of course. And considering you need the gas, and Ring is probably just too good of a card to discard right now. Probably just discard the Dust. It's my guess. They're going to discard the Jar of Greed, though, so I think that's an interesting play because you kind of do want to find a monster, right? Now, maybe you get lucky and you do draw one, but I feel like I would rather have two chances of actually finding a threat here. But we'll see how this turns out. Jar will be discarded, and Mutanda's going to go T-set pass, which is a very ferocious opening here. Harper will draw for turn, finds a BLS, okay, so not really close to being live. No Dark Engrave and none in hand. See if you get to main phase 1 without Dust Shoot. No, Dust Shoot is going to come through, and BLS will get ripped out. That's honestly not the end of the world, though. And this is one of those other things, right? There is a good chance that Mutanda opened Dust Shoot, right? And so if you see Dust Shoot, right, Jar of Greed is going to be a lot better, because then that's basically like an unknown card that your opponent won't know about, right, post Dust Shoot. And so that's another reason why I think keeping the Jar, A, because it'll make it more likely that you find some gas in the future, but B, because it helps you play through Dust Shoot a little bit better. Whereas now they just know about like Ring and Dust Tornado, and now they can kind of bait out your Dust Tornado at some point and make it a little bit harder for you to do anything. BLS will get sent back, which is kind of a bummer. Obviously would have preferred to just draw like, honestly, drawing like Reinforcement of the Army there would be pretty insane, right? Because then they would have whiffed on the Dust Shoot, and then you still have a play for the turn. But unfortunately, BLS gets hit. They do get full knowledge of the hand, and now we're gonna, of course, just fire off the duo. No reason to hold it. You hit your opponent's BLS, which is pretty nice. So now you have BLS at least somewhere in your deck, and you know your opponent doesn't. So if this game goes long, that'll be pretty solid. And then Mutanda will go ahead and discard Magician of Faith. Okay. So now I feel like the play is just going to be, I don't know. I guess you probably want to set just one of these two. There's probably not a lot you care about ringing just yet, right? So I would probably just set Dust Tornado here. Setting both would play into like potential Heavy Storm, right? So I don't think you really need to risk both of them. So I probably just set the Dust here and then snipe whatever they set if they do set anything. Setting both is fine, right? It does play into heavy. The one nice thing about not setting both as well is now, like, if you hold back one card, your opponent's not going to know exactly what the set one is, and when you get to your next turn, then if you set another card next turn because you've drawn an unknown card, they don't know if it's one of the ones they've seen or not, right? Where if you just set both here, they know that they don't know exactly which one's which, but they know which one is ring and they know which one is dust tornado, or they know that one is ring and they know that one is dust tornado, right? And they will just know that for forever until you use them. Um, yeah, so Mutanda here in a decent spot, honestly. They top deck Thunder Dragon, which is really nice. They know they don't have to play Dust Shoot, so they can just go for it right off the bat. We got Flip Summon Faith, grab Upstart. That's fine. I guess the one good thing about setting both cards is it does play around Faith grab Duo, which is definitely a possibility. So, yeah, maybe with that in mind, setting both is fine. There's no guarantee that the set monster is Faith, of course. Um, Especially because they discarded the Faith off of the Duo, right? So it makes it a little bit less likely that that's what this is. But yeah, I guess setting both is fine. I don't think I think it's pretty close, honestly. Um, and if they do draw into like a Tsukuyomi or something, it'll be nice to have the ring to kill the Faith, of course. Breaker is gonna come down though. You just gonna ring this instantly, of course. Definitely makes sense there. You should take 1600 only, right? Because you want to chain it to the breaker activation, or you want to change it to the breaker enter the field effect that adds the token. If you wait until it has the token on it, then they have actually priority to use the breaker effect, remove the token, and try and snipe one of these. And then if they hit their dust tornado, you're in a really bad spot. So yeah, you want to chain to the enter the battlefield effective breaker and make sure that they don't get the chance of hitting it. Yeah, it looks like you realize that. That's fine. Upstart will come through. Yep, we're pretty far behind here. But that's what happens when you get Duo plus Dust Shoot, right? And they had Faith, of course. And then they're going to go Tribute Summon for Thunder Dragon, which is super safe because they know your set is now Dust Tornado. They're going to get in for 16, is what it is. They're going to set a back row pass. Cool. Not bad. Yeah, and then obviously, yeah, end phase, you're just going to Dust Tornado. They know what it is. You hit a Dust Shoot, but, like, it's fine, right? Gonna have to use it at some point. Okay, we draw Kaiku for a turn, which is actually insane. That's very, very strong. So we can just slam this Kaiku, attack over the Thunder Dragon, and you get to banish their Dark from Grave, as well as probably a Magician of Faith, right? Just to remove potential flips in case they run into like a Night Assailant later. So that's a really, really solid top deck that bailed us out of a pretty bad situation. We get to equalize card advantage, which is really nice. And Kaiku sticks around as like a nice floodgate effect as well. So solid top deck. Warrior is a deck that's built to win these top deck scenarios, so no surprise that you found a pretty big monster there. I'm not a huge fan of summoning Thunder Dragon as Turbo in the Warrior matchup because yeah, the 1600 attack is good against Turbo because their monsters are weak, but it's really not great against Warrior. I mean, I guess the idea is you want to start pressuring your opponent if your hand is only just double TD, right? So I think Mutanda was kind of forced to do it, but it's just weak to so much stuff here, for sure. Yeah. Okay, Mutanda will draw, set a monster pass. Cool. We top deck Blade Knight, which is pretty nice. I think you're just going to slam that down. Attack with the Blade Knight, and then get in for 18 with the Kaiku and continue to banish their grave. That's probably the plan. Ooh, we attack with Kaiku first here, which I feel like doesn't. I feel like that's wrong, right? Because you want to make sure you connect with the Kaiku to start banishing their grave. Right now they have a Dark Engrave, so if they deal with your Kaiku, they have Chaos Live, which is pretty scary. I know BLS is gone, but they're likely playing 2 copies of Sork. So I don't think there's any reason to prioritize the extra 200 damage from the Blade Knight here, right? I would rather just start banishing their grave because connecting with Kaiku against Turbo is tons and tons of value. So minor, maybe not minor mistake, like actually decent sized mistake there, I would say. But you're still in a decent position at least, and you've got a clock on your opponent, which is the important thing. You get to pass with lethal on board, which is nice. But now if they have like Snatch plus Sork or something, it's almost definitely GG, right? Let's see. Okay, Tsukuyomi comes down, and that is a very, very good card against this board, right? They'll probably deal with the Kaiku, yeah. And you can see here, Mutanda is smartly prioritizing dealing with the Kaiku, right? Like, that is actually your primary threat in this scenario, especially against a Chaos deck. So, yeah, Mutanda prioritizing killing that with the Suk tells you all you need to know about which one you should have attacked with, right? But not to harp on that point for super long. And then they are just gonna pass and let the Tsukuyomi bounce to hand, and you're just gonna have a nice clean shot in with 2K for Blade Knight. And if you just top deck a monster, it's GG, right? Top deck Blade Knight for game. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so Mutanda breaking up a little bit there. I guess the hand was Thunder Dragon, Tsukuyomi, and something, I guess another normal summon, right? So just banking on you not drawing another monster there is a little bit risky. And now, luckily for you, you did just top deck monster, monster, monster here in this top deck scenario, which was pretty insane. So you didn't actually end up needing the Jar of Greed to draw into more gas, of course. So yeah, overall, definitely well played. I think yeah, you played through the Dust Shoot solidly. I think you should definitely be prioritizing these Kaiku hits a little bit more. It didn't end up mattering in this case, but it definitely could come back to bite you in the future. But at least, the Warrior deck did what it was supposed to do, right, in terms of winning these top deck wars. And you take down game one. Cool. So we'll head over to game two. Now, obviously, I don't know what your... I think you did send me your list in DMs. But you want to just side in, you're playing Warrior, so you should have a pretty standard side deck pattern against Chaos Turbo. If you don't have one, definitely ask around the Discord. It's generally pretty self-explanatory. Game 2, Mutanda will be able to go first here again. They lead off with Upstart again. Then they're going to go set a monster, set a couple back row pass. Not the end of the world. Let's see, we get to main phase 1. Yeah, they're never going to have Dust Shoot post side, so that's totally fine. And now the opening hand here is pretty good. We've got Faith, Grandmaster, Kaiku as some solid threats. You open Dust Shoot, which is really nice, so you definitely want to make sure that that will resolve at some point. You open Rhoda here as well, which is pretty cool. Now, I think you probably want to Rhoda for, like, Mystic Swordsman here. Or Rhoda for, I guess Rhoda for Blade Knight might make more sense. With the idea being that you want to negate a potential flip effect here, right? If it's Spy, that's annoying, but you do have the Ninja Grandmaster later on as like insurance against that, right? So that them resolving a Spy isn't the end of the world. What you want to make sure is that they can't resolve like a Faith or a Dekoichi. Now, the one thing to think about, though, is they could very likely have battle traps here, right? This is post side against likely Chaos Turbo, so they're going to bring in their Sakuretsus most likely, unless they're on the Scapegoat side deck plan. So if maybe there's an argument to go Rhoda for Exile just to deal with the set, but I feel like most of the time they're not going to set something real on turn 1 if they have the option. So if you just go for Exile turn 1, oftentimes you're just like running into a Sangan, and that is just like super duper negative for you, right? So I feel like I'd rather go for Rhoda into Blade Knight or Mystic Swordsman and go for that sort of play. Even if they have a battle trap, like it's not the end of the world. You still have like Dust Shoot, whatever. You still have a bunch of other threats. So I don't think you need to be super conservative. Like you don't actually care too much if your threat gets Saku'd because you have so many follow-up threats here, right? So I like Rhoda for Mystic Swordsman or Blade Knight. Going for Exile though is, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you can probably save that for later. You do deal with the Spy, which is nice. So you end up getting rewarded for the exiled play. So you play around. Yeah, obviously if you go, yeah. So I think the play is probably Rhoda for exactly Mystic Swordsman because that plays around Spy more than Blade Knight does, right? Exiled here does play around potential battle trap, like we were saying. and you don't get punished by it being like a bait, which at least is nice. So yeah, I think that play is fine. You definitely have a lot of options there, though. It's one of those things where you kind of don't want to always do the same thing anyway. Like you want to keep it like if you're thinking about it from like a game theory perspective, you probably don't always want to assume it's something real or assume it's something fake. You want to play as if it's real or if it's fake some percentage of the time. So I think going for the Exiled Force is fine. Sometimes that's correct. Um, but if it was Sangan, you would have gotten pretty hard punished though, of course. We're gonna go with set trap dust shoot here, of course. Totally fine. They're gonna draw for turn. You're gonna fire it off. Wait till they go to standby phase, just in case they have like MST, of course, or something, but not the end of the world. And we'll see what the opponent's hand is. So we see a Saku in hand, we see a Solemn, we see a Breaker, and we see a Magician of Faith. Okay, so this is interesting. Breaker is bigger than all of our monsters, but we do have the Smashing Ground for it. So if they summon it, we don't actually really care that much. Faith is their light, so I do kind of like sending back the Faith just because then they won't have Chaos Live if they top deck it. So that's probably my pick here, right? Especially because you don't have any set monster hate. Yeah, their only target is Upstart right now, but better to not let them see more cards. So I think you probably just send back the Faith here. You pick the Breaker. I don't think you care about Breaker here, though, right? Because you don't have any back row for them to do anything with. If they keep the token on it, just Smashing Ground it, and, like, that's fine, and then just beat in with, like, Kaiku, right? Whereas if they set Faith, they can wall out your Kaiku, you won't get the hit in, and then, yeah, it's just kind of annoying. So you send back the Breaker, though, and then you know the hand is Solemn Saku Faith with a couple unknown back row. Cool. And then they're going to go set the Faith, set probably the Solemn is my guess, to play around potential, like, Heavy Storm, I guess. Oh, let me show your hand. Okay. Now you draw a Solemn of your own per turn, which is kind of awkward. It doesn't really do a lot here. And yeah, now you're in this weird position where you have no out for the Faith. And so you're just going to kind of run into it, I guess. Maybe you have to go for Ninja Grandmaster first here, right? Because if this Faith ever hits the grave, they'll have Chaos Live, so you want to kind of save your Kaiku. Because you know that this back row could be Saku. They could also have another Saku set, of course, right? And so I would rather bait out with the Ninja Grandmaster, especially because Spy isn't anywhere to be found. So that you can keep the Kaiku for later and blank their Chaos plays. So I would probably just go normal Grandmaster attack here. It's probably the play. And you do go for that. Nice, so we agree. That's totally fine. They hit Faith, they grab the Upstart. Not the end of the world. They do have Light Dark Engrave, which is annoying, but you do have Kaiku for that, I guess, later on. And I guess you probably set Solemn just in case they do top deck a Chaos Monster. I think that's probably fine. Yeah, you didn't see... They didn't like MST or Dust Shoot or anything turn 1, so you know none of these sets are MST, right? So I think you're fine just going for the set Solemn in case they go for Chaos. Yeah. Nice play. Mutanda's going to draw for turn. They're going to go fire off that Upstart. Makes sense. We're going to go set a back row pass. Cool. So we know that this back row has to be either Saku or Solemn. This one could be anything, but is likely the other one. They didn't summon anything, though, which is a little bit interesting. But we're in a decent spot here with the Ninja Grandmaster. Let's see, we draw for turn. We draw a Kaiku. Okay, so now we're in an interesting spot where Torrential and Mirror Force are both cards. But we do have Solemn to protect it, but we know that they have Solemn to Solemn our Solemn. That was a lot of words, right? So maybe we go just attack with Ninja Grandmaster, set Faith Pass. Maybe that's the play. And then we can always like go Faith for Rhoda or something. Because, yeah, we have Solemn to back up, but I'm worried if they have Torrential or Mirror Force, then they're just going to Solemn our Solemn and we'll be in a really bad spot. So I like being a little bit conservative here. I think that's totally fine. I mean, I guess if they Solemn our Solemn, they'll go down to 4,000 life points. And we'll have a Kaiku that's then like a 3-turn clock, which is kind of nice. But I feel like it's too early in the game to like. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not a warrior main, right? So I could be making the wrong call here, but I feel like it's too early in the game to get super duper aggressive because like we haven't really seen any of the power traps out of our opponent, and we know they have Solemn, right? So we kind of want to tread lightly until we can like maybe bait out the Solemn or pop it with something. We're gonna go for the Kaiku play though. Okay, yeah. Let's see though. Mutanda has Saku to deal with the Ninja Grandmaster though. That feels like a mistake to me from them, right? You definitely want to Saku the Kaiku so that they don't banish your grave. So I feel like you're getting pretty lucky here getting in this Kaiku attack, right? But you're going to take it all the way to the bank, right? You're going to banish Light Dark. That's pretty solid. Well, they have a Book of Moon to set the Kaiku? That's kind of odd. I guess preferring that you deal... Huh. That's a little bit weird. Like, if your plan was to book the... Not to, like, overanalyze Mutanda's play, right? But, like, I feel like you would rather... I mean, I guess we'll see what's in their hand. We'll see what's in their hand. It just seems like an odd sequence of events. Like, I feel like you don't really care too much about Sakuing the Ninja Grandmaster. Is kind of what I'm going for there. But yeah, then you just pass turn, obviously. Makes total sense to me. If they go and try and beat over your Kaiku, that's not the end of the world, right? I don't think you saw him that. Especially because it'll cost you 5,000 life points. But you have another Kaiku here as well, and it would just be a 1-for-1 trade because you ate their book. So I think if they go for like something to beat over the Kaiku, it's really not the end of the world. They top deck Graceful though, which is really annoying. Okay. Now do we Solemn this Graceful? I feel like probably not. I feel like we don't have enough going on. Or, huh. This is an interesting choice, right? Because if they do go for BLS, we just have Smashing Ground, right? Which is like actually pretty good here. So I feel like we probably just let the Graceful resolve. We haven't seen any Thunder Dragons. We haven't seen any Sinisters. So like, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that they're plussing off of this Graceful. So I feel like it's probably fine to not Solemn this. Yeah, so we let this happen. I think that's probably correct. That's an interesting spot, though. One that maybe I would think about more, potentially. But yeah, I think this is fine. Let's see. They discard Meta and Raigeki Break. Okay, so now we get a little bit of intel that they're actually running probably the Chaos Control package in the side, which could change our decision-making later on. It could change your side decking as well. Game 3, if you have like Longhoos or Asura Priest in the side, you probably don't bring them in now, but you will bring them in Game 3, is my thought. And yeah, they have to discard 2 real cards for the Graceful, and that's like kind of fine. I kind of figured that was going to happen, which is why I don't think Solemning it is that amazing. If they were guaranteed to plus off of it, you probably are more likely to Solemn it. But as it stands, I think this is fine. And it's clear that they're desperate to find an out for your Kaiku, which is silly because they could have just socketed it, right? Then they're just going to go set a monster, set a back row pass. Okay. So now we know for a fact, pretty much, we almost definitely know for a fact that this back row is the Solemn, right? Because they set that, we know it had to be Saku or Solemn. We saw that this one was a Saku. It could have been like a random one that they top decked, but that's pretty unlikely. So if we draw like MST or something, we know what we're going to be targeting because hitting the Solemn would be insane. Let's see though. We draw another Smashing Ground for turn, which is a little bit awkward. We know that, well, so this can't be Mirror Force. This is not Mirror Force because they didn't go for it earlier. So you have an interesting choice here. This set could be a lot of things. Spy is pretty annoying. Yeah, you probably just go. I mean, I get you really want your Kaiku to stay around, or you really want to keep a Kaiku effect on the board. I guess you could go just flip summon Kaiku attack, and then main phase 2, normal summon the other Kaiku, or set the Faith, depending on what the flip is maybe the idea. Yeah, I don't think you. Yeah, I mean, I guess getting in with double Kaiku here would be pretty nice. Of course, unfortunately, I know that this is a spy, so maybe I'm thinking that set Faith is the right play when it's not, because I know your Kaikus are never going to get in. But it's pretty likely. I mean, it could be another Faith, which would be really annoying, but we can't do anything about that. It could be Spy, assuming they're running 3 copies, or it could be probably not Dekoichi. Those probably get sided out. Probably not Night Assailant. Could be Sangan or Sinister, which in that case actually would be really good to get this Kaiku in. I just feel like if it is Spy, you have no way of dealing with it, right? So you kind of want to set up for the Faith into Rota play to grab something to deal with a potential Spy, right? So yeah, I would rather play for that. Is I think my thought here. We're gonna go Kaiku though. Yeah, obviously you flip summon it. Yeah, and I like this play. You attack and you see it Spy, and that's kind of a bummer. Oh, they actually don't have any other Spies left in deck. So they either have Spy in hand, or they only run 2 Spies, which I guess if they're playing Chaos Control, they could just be on 2 Spies. But now Smashing Ground is actually a lot better in the future. Right, so now I think you're fine. You probably just set Faith, pass. That's totally fine. I don't think you need to bluff set the Smashing Ground. I mean, I guess it's fine. It's kind of cute. In case, I mean, you do get knowledge if they did set like MST or something, and it does protect your Psalm a little bit. But like, I wouldn't. The annoying thing is now if they find a Heavy Storm, they just get a free 2-for-1, right? Like, I don't think this bluff set does enough in this scenario to make it worth just like getting in a position where you're forced to Solemn a Heavy Storm. Now, maybe if you set the other Smashing Ground, then you're also simultaneously playing around top deck duo. So I feel like if you're gonna go bluff set a Smashing Ground, you probably just want to bluff set both. But I probably just don't bluff set either. Maybe you're thinking you need to play around Dust Shoot here by setting something, but that almost like Turbo's not gonna have Dust Shoot post side against you, right? Like you're playing Warrior. So I feel like I probably just hold the Smashing Ground. You could, if you want to set one, you should set both. But now you're like exposing yourself to as many possible things at once, right? You lose to top deck duo, you lose to top deck heavy, and the extra card doesn't really do too much for you, regardless. And then if you draw heavy, it makes it even more awkward, right? Mutanda here though, gonna go set a back row pass. Okay, we draw Mirror Force for turn, and now I feel like we should be going for a little bit of Smashing Ground the Spy, start beating with the Kaiku action here is probably the play. Also, not a Warrior player, but I'm not sure if Mirror Force makes the cut against Turbo post side. The general theory is that if you have to be mirror forcing stuff against Turbo, you're probably in a really bad position, right? Like most Turbo players will side out Mirror Force in the mirror, right? So I'm not sure if you really want it in an even more aggressive deck against Turbo, right? Is kind of my thought there. So I guess you could get really aggressive here, and you could go normal Kaiku to play around Torrential. Maybe flip Faith, but then basically you could go normal Kaiku, decide on if you flip Faith or not, and then go Smashing Ground, and then you can start getting with double Kaiku. Would be really strong. It's unlikely at this point that they found a Mirror Force, right? And if you do, then you can go like Solemn, and then they'll Solemn, but that's not the end of the world, right? I guess in case they do have Mirror Force, you probably don't flip the Faith, right? But I think you probably just go normal summon Kaiku here, activate this Smashing Ground, and then try and beat face and clock your opponent. That seems pretty good. And then if they only have like a Sakuretsu set or like a ring and not Mirror Force, you guarantee pretty much that you're going to get one Kaiku attack in, which is really strong. So I think the play is normal summon Kaiku. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you didn't want to summon the Kaiku, this is fine. But you definitely, if your plan is to summon the Kaiku, you should do it before you Smashing Ground. Because then, like, if you summon the Kaiku now, there's a chance that Mutanda doesn't Torrential if they have it, right? Now, if you go Smashing Ground first and then summon the Kaiku, they're always going to Torrential if they have it. So you'd rather, like, make them not want to Torrential if you go for this play. I think Smashing Ground and the Spy is definitely what you want to be doing this turn. I feel like you could probably get away with going for the double Kaiku beatdown. Because now if they just run into a Saku, they still have Chaos Live, right? But it is what it is. And they're gonna go Scapegoat here, which is a little bit annoying, but not like the super duper end of the world, I guess. And that's another reason why, you saw the Metamorphosis, so it's more likely that they're gonna have Scapegoat. And so having multiple monsters makes your clock through these goats so much faster, right? Yeah. Yeah, you definitely kill one though. You want to start getting in as much as you can. You're not playing for deck out. No reason to keep the go tokens around. And then main phase 2, you're just gonna set Mirror Force Pass. I think. Um, you can definitely hold the faith until you get more information. Like maybe you want to grab Smashing Ground, maybe you want to grab Rhoda. TBD. It's kind of safe here, right? Because they're not gonna have knock. They probably don't have Minecon, so you don't really need to flip it this turn. Yeah, so I think it just set Mirror Force Pass makes total sense there. Um, and yeah, the only thing I would have changed that turn is I would have summoned the extra Kaiku to start getting a little bit more damage. If they have Mirror Force, it kind of sucks, but like, it's unlikely that they have it at this point. Okay, they go for Breaker, which is kind of annoying. Do you have? Are you forced to Solemn this Breaker? I guess maybe not. Maybe you don't have to Solemn the Breaker. Because if they get greedy and they go Breaker, try to attack over the Kaiku, you can just Mirror Force it, and that's like super duper fine. And then if they don't do that, and they go like Breaker, pop one of the back row, then it's too weak to get over the Kaiku, right? And you like don't care, right? Because then you can just like get back the +1 next turn. They clearly don't have Saku, otherwise they wouldn't have scapegoated, right? So I feel like you don't Solemn the Breaker here. That's my thought. Yeah. You don't go for it. That makes sense. And now you get to Mirror Force the Breaker, which is awesome. Yeah. So well played there. That's a pretty key decision point, I feel like, and you played that correctly for sure, I think. And Mutanda got a little bit greedy, and now you get to hold your Solemn, which is pretty sweet. Let's see, now you draw Mystic Swordsman for turn, which is cool. And now you could get a little bit interesting. Now I feel like it's probably Summon Kaiku, Flip Faith, grab Rhoda, kill all the goat tokens, and just say, you know what, I don't think you have Mirror Force, is probably the play. Right? Like, there's no way they goat there. It's just so unlikely that they have Mirror Force here that I'm not worth willing playing around it. And then we have Solemn for their Solemn and whatever, and then we still have a Rhoda in hand, and the board is simplified. So if they do have Mirror Force, it's still not the end of the world because they're gonna drop down to 4K. The board will be super simplified, and we'll still have like good threats in a top deck scenario with a Rhoda in hand and a Mystic Swordsman in hand and a Smashing Ground in hand. So I like just going full board wipe here with everything, removing the potential for top deck Metamorphosis, and just like having a good time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Normal summon Mystic Swordsman is probably better. Yeah. You want to keep the Kaiku. Yeah. That was my bad. But yeah, Mystic Swordsman definitely makes more sense here. You definitely want to flip the Faith though. I think. Yeah. Flip Faith. Mutanda's thinking. Grab the Rhoda. Yep. Nice play. And then clear out all their Go tokens. Yeah. There's just like no way they have Mirror Force here. I feel like. And now you dealt with all of their Go tokens, and you're in a really really nice spot here. And as soon as you can connect with the Kaiku, you will just be living large, right? Then there's almost no way you lose, right? Yeah, you're just in an awesome spot. Once again, I don't think there's a point to bluff setting things here. Doesn't seem like they have Mystic or a Mystical Space Typhoon or anything like that. They're not gonna have. I mean, you can side Industrinado against Warrior post side, but it's pretty rare. So I think you just hold everything in hand, right? Yeah, I don't really like the random bluff setting. I don't think it really does anything for you. And once again, you're in the same position of like Heavy Storm is annoying in the future, I guess, right? Obviously, they're not going to be hitting you right now, but you don't want to be forced in a situation where you need to heavy or where you need to Solemn a Heavy Storm, right? And then you're still not even playing around duo because you have two cards in hand. So another one of those scenarios where it's probably set both or neither. Um, Unlikely you get punished, but probably still smart. They go for card destruction here, which is interesting. I guess it's nice that you held the Rhoda. But now they're going to know that it's a bluff set Rhoda, right? But yeah, I think you let card destruction resolve. This is fine. Yep, sure. They hit Night Assailant, which is annoying. They can regrab Spy. But you have a Mystic Swordsman, so like you don't really care, right? Oh, and you get Knock and Donzalug, which is insane. And yeah, that's a super desperate card destruction, right? It's neutral and card advantage. They can regrab a Spy, which they did, but like that's fine. Who cares? Let's see. They're gonna go set a monster pass. Almost every day of the week. That is Gravekeeper Spy, of course. You draw double knock. Oof, that's crazy. Okay, so now you do have, I guess this is an interesting spot. Where obviously you would want to get, in an ideal world, you'd want to get value out of this Mystic Swordsman. No, but there's just no way they have a Battle Trap, right? There's no way they have a Battle Trap. There's no way. They haven't said anything new in forever. I mean, I guess. No, I feel like they would Battle Trap your Kaiku at some point, though. Right? Especially because it's actually turning them off Chaos right now. So I feel like you just want to get in with the Mystic Swordsman, probably. Because, yeah, they haven't said anything new. Like, it could just be like another Scapegoat set or something. But I don't know. Do they set this? Do they set the Spy? No, without any way to protect it from the Mystic Swordsman. Probably not. So I think you probably just go for the knock here, especially because you have a backup one. Yeah, that's probably fine. It gets banished. They lose the last one. You go for the normal summon Donzalug? Huh. So once again, this is one of those scenarios where if you were going to go normal summon Donzalug, you should have done it before you knocked the Spy, because then they're less likely to go for the Torrential play. And now you're forced to Solemn this, and then they can Solemn your Solemn, and you're screwed, right? So yeah, now you're in a spot where like this is not super duper recoverable, and this is just kind of a throw, right? And even if you go normal summon Dawn and they go torrential solemn and they kill their own Spy, you're still in a bad spot because all you have left is Rhoda knock, and you've just given away all of this stuff, and you don't have Kaiku anymore to turn stuff off. Yeah, so I think extending with the Donzalug here is probably not worth it because you just don't have any follow up now after we get solemn. Yeah. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you lose the game, and this was probably the game losing decision. Is my guess. Yeah, solemn. Unfortunately, they dropped down to 4K, but yeah, you were in such a commanding position, and now things are just looking really bad, right? You got Knock and Rhoda and a Dream, right? Which it could be in a worse spot, but like there was no need to do this, right? You didn't need to get greedy and try and they didn't even play this card in their hand, right? So you almost don't care about it, right? Like you don't need to rip it out with the Donzalug because it's probably doing nothing. And then you're gonna go summon, so you already used your normal summon. So I mean, I guess you just Rhoda just for the fun of it. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're probably gonna bluff set the knock. So yeah, I guess you want to go Rhoda here, thin the deck, grab something, probably Blade Knight, and then bluff set the knock is probably the play. Yeah, I think this is fine. Go bluff set knock pass. That's fine, but it's just unfortunate you're in this situation. I think you got a little bit greedy there, forgetting that they also had Solemn, right? They top deck MST, which sucks. Yeah, now you're just in a really bad spot. Yeah, now they go slam BLS, and you're going to lose. Yeah. Unless you have Snatch Steal. Nope. GG. Yeah, so that I think that was a very, very winnable game. And you just got a little bit too aggressive, unfortunately, and got punished for it. I think you got to think about, like, if you're not going to play around Torrential or Mirror Force, you need to have, like, a plan B, right? Or you need to be in a situation that's desperate enough that, like, if they have it, you're dead anyway, right? In that position, there was no need to risk it because you were so far ahead, right? You were about to hit in with a Kaiku. You had Mystic Swordsman to make their sets worse. You had another knock in hand as well. Like, you were in such a really good position, and then yeah, you just kind of threw it away, unfortunately, right? These things happen. You probably instantly regretted it as soon as you summoned that Donzalug, right? So I don't want to harp on this too much. But yeah. We'll go to game 3 here. You did see that they're on Chaos Control, so you want to kind of change up your side decking a little bit. You opened Delinquent Duo here in game 3, which is really nice. Duo plus shoot. Okay, so now this, because you're playing against Turbo, I think this is actually a world where you want to shoot first and then duo, right? Because in case they have like Sinister Servant or like Night Assailant, you want to get rid of that with the Dust Shoot first, and then you can just resolve the duo later. That's more likely to get full value, is the idea. I don't think duo and then shoot is necessarily like super duper bad. Like, you open duo shoot anyway, so you're already just naturally going to be in a really good position. But I assume you're going to go duo first here, and I feel like you could probably get away with the other way around, and get a little bit more action here. Yeah, you do fire off the duo though, just praying that they don't have Sinister Serpent, right? And you do hit Raigeki Breaking Breaker, which is really nice. Two good cards to deal with, and now you can just go. I mean, I guess the play, you could be cute and set your whole hand, right? And play around potential duo as well. That's probably the play here. I kind of like that, especially because Breaker's gone. So that's like one of their back row removal cards that's gone, right? It's basically like Breaker, MST, Heavy are really the only stuff that's going to be popping your back row. Randomly a Raigeki Break sometimes, but one of those is already gone. So I think you probably just set your whole hand here, play around duo. It's probably the play, and then you can just Dust Shoot, right? Of course. I don't see a need to go for Breaker here. This does nothing for you, right? Now it's just kind of a sitting duck card that Mutanda can deal with. They know that they can play around it by setting chainables, right? Yeah, Warrior is one of those decks where you don't need to use your normal summon turn 1. Like, you're totally fine just holding it back. Because most of the time, you get your value by attacking with your monsters. So turn 1, unless you are, like, glutted on normal summons, or you have, like, a bunch of Rotas, or a bunch of, like, revival cards that are actually good to use. Like, you don't actually want to premature your Breaker, because then it's just a 1600 vanilla. Like, you should just be holding Breaker here, and then using it to pop a back row and getting, like, the tempo advantage there. Yeah. Now you open duo shoot, so it's probably not going to matter too much. We'll see exactly. Once again, you want to wait until they actually try and go into standby phase. By the way, in case Mutanda goes like hold prio, MST something, just a little bit of etiquette and correct play there. And now you see their hand is Zambira TD Pot Saku, which is kind of terrible for us. I feel like you have to send back the Zambira, right? Yeah, I think the play here, you're gonna send back the Zambira and then Solemn the Pot. And then if they set the Saku, you can Breaker the Saku and you're chilling, right? And then they just have Dead Thunder Dragons in hand. That's probably the play. And now, I guess, could have been interesting. Yeah, you could have gone Dust Shoot, see this. Yeah, it could have. Yeah, yeah. I think you definitely send back the Zambira Solemn the Pot though. That's probably the play, and then just try and get in with Breaker for forever. Because then that makes your turn 1 Breaker a little bit better, right? Because then they can't set their Saku. You know that their hand is just super duper dead, and you're just in a good spot. So that's got to be the play here. You send back the Thunder Dragon though, And see, now you end up in a weird position where, like, you don't want to have to. I mean, I guess you have Smashing Euron for the Zombira, but what's your play? If they go, you don't want to Solemn the Zombira, right? So they're gonna go Zombira, kill your Breaker. You have Smashing Ground, but you're just hoping to top deck something because you don't want to have to premature your Breaker, right? I feel like you would rather just brick your opponent, Solemn the pot, Dust Shoot back the Zombira, and then their hand does nothing, right? And you actually have gas. And now you're just in an awkward spot where the Zombira is going to kill you, and you don't have any good premature burial targets, and you never got value off of your Breaker, right? Yeah, you don't want to Solemn this because they just have pot. I feel like, yeah, and now you can't Solemn the pot either, right? Yeah, and this is just really awkward, and they just get to kill your Zombira for free. They're not going to attack in, though. Huh. That's pretty weird. Okay, and so I guess you don't know what this back row is. The Saku could just be held in hand. But now at least you get a chance to use your Breaker, which is interesting. I feel like Mutanda kind of punted here a little bit. Oh, you drop Kaiku for turn 2, which is insane. Okay, so the play is going to be... We're going to Breaker pop one of the back row. I think you just have to do that. Just try and hit a Saku or something. And then you're going to go normal Kaiku and then Smashing Ground. And then get in for a bunch of damage. And have Solemn to back it up. Yeah, once again, I think the plan is obviously going to be normal summon Kaiku this turn. So you want to make sure you summon your stuff before you kill their monster so that it makes Torrential a lot worse. They're going to Solemn the Smashing Ground. Huh. And this is why you wanted to... They set Solemn into known Breaker, by the way. That's crazy. That's a punt, too. And I feel like if you wanted to go for this, you should just be firing off the Breaker just to start, just to deal with one of those back row. Right. But they drop down to 4K. And now, like, there's a world where you just Solemn this and then start beating in, right? Yeah, I think this is correct. I think this is a huge punt for Mutanda. But now you can just do this. Yeah, Breaker can pop the other back row. You hit the Saku. They set 2 Unchainables into known Breaker. So you got rewarded for normal summoning the Breaker into air. And yeah, unfortunately, I think Mutanda just kind of gifted you this game. You're in a really good spot here, but I feel like I would have preferred the send back the Zombira, Solemn the pot, and then go from there. And then, if you top deck Kaiku, that's amazing, right? But I feel like that's probably your play. Now you just have the absolute nuts, of course, and there's no way you lose this game, right? But I think Mutanda just kind of threw it away. You get to banish both their darks, which is awesome. You don't know anything in their hand. But it's probably not a back row, otherwise they set it. It could be a monster, because they use their normal on Zombira, of course. Could be a dead Chaos monster. They draw for turn, set a monster, set a back row pass, sure. You draw Dust Tornado. I think the play is just attack with Breaker, attack with Kaiku. Yeah, so once again, you're doing this thing where you don't prioritize getting damage with the Kaiku. The extra 200 attack here doesn't actually get you over anything, right? Think about all the monsters that are played in Chaos Turbo. None of them have, like, more than 1400 defense, right? Or if it's Spy, and it doesn't matter, right? So you want to prioritize the Kaiku attack in here. I mean, I guess... Yeah, if they have... I guess, it doesn't matter, because you probably just have game anyway, right? If you can just kill it and then get in with the other one. But overall, like, you would rather... Like, yeah, it doesn't matter in this scenario because you're just going to kill them. But you would definitely rather get in with the Kaiku if they had more life, right? You're going to go grab Spy. Sure, you can attack in with the Breaker. They go Book of Moon, the Breaker, which is silly. They should have just Book of Mooned your Kaiku, right? So that's another misplay out of them. Yeah, they can just book the Kaiku, then Breaker kills Sangan, and they end up in the same position, but the Kaiku's face down instead of the Breaker, which is a lot better for them, in case they, like, find Chaos or something. And then you're just going to set Dust Tornado Pass. That's fine. They draw for turn. They're going to go set Spy Pass almost every day. You draw Blade Knight, which doesn't get over the Spy, unfortunately. So it's probably just flip summon Breaker Pass is the idea. You're just going to sit. I mean, I guess you can attack in. Maybe. I mean, but it's pretty much always Spy, so you actually kind of don't want to trigger it for them. Right? You would rather them go flip summon and then you can kill them, threaten it. Like they can never flip summon their Spy here because you can just kill them by attacking over it with the Kaiku. So you actually just want to chill here, have it stay set in case you like top deck a knock or something later. So it's just going to be flip summon Breaker Pass here. Is the play. Yeah, I don't like attacking here because then you trigger their Spy for them, and now they have 2 attack position spy or 2 defense position Spies, and it's going to be even harder for you to do anything. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a mistake there. Gonna pass. Mutanda finds Thunder Dragon. Now, luckily for you, you still have Kaiku on board, so Chaos is turned off. You know, the hand is 2 TD. They're gonna go set a monster pass, sure. You draw Rhoda for turn, and now that is pretty awesome. Because, well, so I guess what's in their grave? Pot is annoying. Ooh, so this is actually an interesting choice. Because you would love to, like, Rhoda for Ninja Grandmaster and start dealing with these Spies. But Faith grabbing Pot is a possibility, which would be really annoying. And you have nothing to answer that. Right. So do you go... I feel like you have to go for the Ninja Grandmaster here. Because you can't just sit behind these Spies forever and not make progress. Right. That's really tough, though. You could go Rhoda for Exiled, pop the set, then go like... Then go Premature the Exiled, pop a Spy later on or something. But then it still deals you with 1 more Spy. And yeah, so this is the issue, right? You could have just only had 1 Spy on the board face down, in which case you would have been totally fine. You would have actually just won the game this turn if that was the case. You could have gone Rhoda for Exiled, pop the new set, Premature Barrow the Exiled, pop the face down Spy, and win. Right? But here you're in kind of a catch-22 where you need to deal with these Spies to pressure the opponent, and you need to play around potential Magician of Faith. Right. Now, it doesn't have to be Faith. It could be a lot of other stuff. So maybe you don't need to be super... Like, yeah, I guess because you don't know it's Faith, you probably... Yeah, I think you probably just go Ninja Grandmaster here and start whittling away at these Spies is probably the play. Because then at least you know you're making some progress, and maybe they whiff on the pot or something. Right. It doesn't have to be Spy. You still want to attack the other one. Yeah, you don't take the damage. That's fine. You'll have Kaiku attack the other set. Whatever. You find out that it's Serpent, which is nice. So now it's not Faith. You know that they have Serpent in the rotation. And now you know that they just have double TD and Serpent. So their hand is super dead, and you're passing with lethal on board. Yeah. So now, obviously, this sucks if that's Faith. But it's still not the end of the world, because I still need to... Their hand doesn't really do anything. Like, they just have double TD in hand, and you still have Kaiko on board. So they need to find it out for a lot of stuff, even if they do grab the pot. Right? And you have follow-up with Premature Burial and stuff. Yeah. So I think this was the right play. They find Tsukuyomi, which... Okay, so they can set the Spy. That's cute. But... So now you know the hand is Suk double TD. You grab Heavy Storm. Okay, that's fine. Well, so now you're just gonna go Kaiku attack. Well, so I guess I can't remember if they had third Spy or not. That's an interesting play out of them. They could have just gone Suk kill the Ninja Grandmaster, which makes me think that they must have the third Spy in deck, right? But either way, I think you're just gonna go. Yeah, you're just gonna go, Breaker attack. Grandmaster kill one of them if they exist, and then chill behind your monsters again. That's probably the play. I mean, it has to be the play. Blade Knight's weird. I don't think you really need to do that. And it makes like top deck. I mean, I guess you have Dust Tornado in case they top deck a Mirror Force or something. But you don't really need to do this. And it gives your opponent another Tsukiyomi target, I guess. Hey, it's fine. I don't think it matters. And I guess this saves you life if you're trying to min max. But yeah, they go spy. Yeah, they don't have the third. Yeah, I guess we're pretty certain from the last game that they only have 2 spies in deck. So this is just GG. So you just win. Yeah. And so weird play out of Mutanda. Once again, they could have just gone Suk, kill your Ninja Grandmaster. Yeah, that loses to like a battle trap, but this just loses to you doing the correct play. Right. And there's no margin for there's like impossible to mess this up, right? So you end up winning it this game 2-1. I think it probably could have been a 2-0 with a little bit of more calculated aggression here in game 2. But overall, this game 3 I think was pretty well played. Could have been some neater stuff playing around the spy, I think. I think Thunder Dragon send back the Zumbira would have made a little bit more sense. But you end up, yeah, they ended up just kind of rewarding you for the random normal summon breaker turn 1 into nothing, by just setting a bunch of unchainable stuff. So you ended up getting value for the breaker anyway, which is a little bit suspicious. But you did get the optimal or near optimal punish for it, right? Could have sequenced it a little bit better, but you did punish them massively for playing into your breaker, right? And so I think Mutanda played a pretty sloppy game, but you did capitalize on their mistakes for the most part as best you could. So definitely well played. I think deserved victory here in this match. Yeah, you basically threw game 2, and otherwise you would have won this in a clean 2-0. So really was just losing to yourself, honestly, right? Honestly, yeah, I think pretty well played. Hopefully these pointers and tips and all that were helpful. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments. As always, not a Warrior player by trade, so might be worth also getting some opinions from some of the stronger Warrior players out there. But I think a lot of the stuff that I pointed out was just kind of like general technical, like sound technical decision making, divorced from like Warrior strategic thinking, right? So hopefully it was still beneficial from that point of view. But definitely thank you for submitting this video. This was a fun one to commentate over. Thank you once again to all the viewers for getting me to 100 subscribers on this channel. This is hopefully, like I said before, the first of many milestones to come, and I will definitely continue to be putting out these videos for you guys because this has been a very, very fun project. And excited to see that, other people like it, right? So yeah, once again, hope you enjoyed this bonus edition of daily GOAT format content, and I will catch you all next time.